It is May 22nd, 2021. I am your host, Carter Ring, and this is the Ringers Podcast, coming at you with episode 84 here on the Ringers Podcast. It is Saturday. NBA playoffs start today. There's 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow. We got some good ones today. The rematch of the second round last year, the Miami Heat against the Milwaukee Bucks. Got the Mavericks, Clippers, Celtics, and the Nets, and the Nuggets and the Blazers today to round out the 4 games. Here I'm going to give you my predictions for the NBA playoffs. Got my Eastern Conference predictions and Western Conference predictions. I'm going to start in the West. This playoff is going to be really interesting. There's some really good matchups going on in these NBA playoffs. A lot of storylines. A couple of headlines. You saw the amazing play-in game last night between Memphis and Golden State. Ja Morant put on quite the show. Steph Curry finished with 39 points, but the Warriors were unable to come out victorious, and the Warriors are now done. The Grizzlies will move on and play in the first round against Utah. And with that first round matchup, we got Utah against Memphis. Utah, the number 1 seed, obviously Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Mike Conley. They have a strong veteran group, and they play really good defense. Quinn Snyder's got a nice team, and they're respectable. You look at the Grizzlies, though, Ja Morant, they got a bunch of guys that work hard, right? Valanciunas, Grayson Allen, Tillman. They got a lot of good players, but I just think Utah is going to end up winning this series in 5 games. I actually think Memphis will get a game. I just think Utah moves on in 5 and advances to the next round. And in the 4 versus the 5, the Clippers against the Dallas Mavericks. They met in the first round last season in the bubble. Luka and Porzingis against Kawhi and Paul George. The Clippers took care of them in 6 last year. And I expect the Clippers to take care of them in 6 this year as well. I think Dallas will get a couple games because of Luka Doncic, his magical play. But I look at this Clippers team, and I think they were better last year talent-wise. But I just think, some of the pieces they got this year, they got Rajon Rondo, Serge Ibaka, Nicholas Batum, Luke Kennard. They got some better fits, right? Tyronn Lue has done a nice job with this team. Obviously, you got the top dogs in Kawhi and Paul George. But the Clippers, the thing that worries me about the Clippers, they can't finish games. Right? They can't finish games, and that's a problem. And it's really weird to see that with a guy like Kawhi. He seems to be a closer in his career. He's one of the best small forwards to ever play the game. So you would hope that he brings the intensity level in the playoffs and to make up for their blunder in the bubble last year. And obviously, Paul George, we can't have any of the pandemic P jokes, all that stuff. So I'm going to take the Clippers in 6 games over Dallas. Got the 3 against the 6, Denver against the Blazers. Denver, obviously, without Jamal Murray, star point guard, tore his ACL about 2 months ago, terrible injury. But arguably league MVP Nikola Jokic, the Joker, leading the Denver Nuggets with Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon. They got a very nice team, Mike Malone's squad. And the Blazers are a team that could steal a game or two if they shoot well with CJ and Dame and Nurkic, Carmelo Anthony. I really like what the Blazers bring to the table. But again, just not enough in the postseason. I don't think Dame and CJ, they've shown an inability to advance. So I want to take Denver in 5. I actually think Denver will get Portland in 5. I'll give respect to Dame Dalla. I'll give him a game, but I think the Nuggets advance. And then we got the 2nd seed, Phoenix Suns against the defending NBA champions, the 7 seed, the Los Angeles Lakers. Call me biased, but I got Lakers in 5. And it's really disrespectful, and it feels weird to disrespect the 2 seed like that. But these are weird circumstances, and the Lakers should not be a 7 seed if they were healthy all year. They had LeBron, AD, Schroeder, didn't get Drummond until midseason. I mean, they had a lot of makeshift pieces going around, and obviously that's the reason they're the 7 seeds because of injuries. But this is a 7 seed like no other. The Lakers will win this series fairly easily, in my opinion. And I respect what Denver's done. Monty Williams should be coach of the year. This Phoenix Suns team hasn't been relevant in a long time. They get Chris Paul. Chris Paul is in our top 5 MVP candidate, I think, in my opinion. And Devin Booker, obviously a star. They got Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges. They got pieces. They might get a game. I could see them winning tomorrow. But I just think the Lakers with LeBron and AD, it's just too much. It's too much. Now, if there's an injury, obviously it's a different series. But if the Lakers are on and they're healthy and they're clicking, which I expect them to be, I think the Lakers will take care of them in 5. So that brings me to the 2nd round, Utah against the Clippers. This is a tough one. I'm not a huge Clippers fan, right? They do choke a lot. But I actually think the Clippers will beat the Jazz in 7. I think it'll go 7 in round 2. I just think Kawhi Leonard's he's out to make up for his blunder last year. I really do. I think Kawhi's a guy he's a winner. He's a natural born winner. And I think having Rajon Rondo is going to help that Clippers team a lot. It benefited the Lakers last year, having a guy like Rondo, playoff Rondo. And I think Paul George might feed off that energy. He'll play a little better, I think. So I'm feeling the Clippers against Utah. I think they'll go 7. And I think they'll go to Utah in a Game 7, and Kawhi will get the job done and advance the Clippers to their first conference finals in franchise history. And then in the second round, I got Denver rematching the Lakers, last year's Western Conference Finals. And I got the Lakers taking them out in 5, again, like last year. I would have it Lakers in 6 if Jamal Murray was playing, but he's not in this series. So I just, again, Nikola Jokic, is he going to be able to beat the Lakers on his own? I don't see it. And I think the Lakers, by the second round, if they're healthy, they're going to be clicking. They're going to be dangerous. So I'm expecting the Lakers to take care of Denver in 5 in the second round. And then we have the much anticipated, this would bring ratings right here, the LA versus LA, Clippers, Lakers, Western Conference Finals. And I got to go with the Lakers. I'm going to take the Lakers in 6 games over the Los Angeles Clippers. I think it's kind of a bad matchup for the Clippers inside. The Lakers' size presents problems for the Clippers. I see what Serge Ibaka can bring to the table. But I honestly look at this matchup and I say the Lakers aren't going to lose to the Clippers. I just don't see that. I think it's going to be a good series, but I think the Lakers will take care of them in 6. And the Lakers will advance to back-to-back NBA Finals. So let's go over to the Eastern Conference. We got the number 1 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers, led by Joel Embiid, MVP candidate, and Ben Simmons, against the 8 seed, Brad Beal, Russ Westbrook, and the Washington Wizards, who beat the Celtics and got themselves into the play-in. I'm going to take the Sixers in a sweep. I think they're going to sweep the Wizards, but I respect what Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal can do. If they shoot well and the Sixers have an off game, I can see the Wizards getting the game, absolutely. But I look at what the Sixers bring. They bring a new tenacity with Doc Rivers' style and Danny Green and Dwight Howard, some good vets from that Lakers team last year. And obviously you got Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. That's a really solid team, number 1 seed. So I'm going to take the Sixers in 4. I got my first sweep. Got the 4 against 5. This is an intriguing matchup. The Knicks and Hawks. Got to respect what Tom Thibodeau's done with this Knicks team. Julius Randle, MVP season. You look at, not MVP, not going to win the award, but you respect what he's done with this Knicks team. RJ Barrett, a couple of young guys. Derrick Rose off the bench. And this is a toss-up. I really don't know who's going to win this series. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Hawks in 7. I think the Atlanta Hawks will pull through with Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Cam Reddish, and the guys. I'm not confident in it, but I just think, I don't know. I think the Hawks have a little better defense than the Knicks. Listen, the Knicks are a team that's, haven't been in the playoffs in a long time, since they had Carmelo and back in the day and those guys, J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler, right? But they play good defense. But I just think Atlanta's offense can get hot sometimes, and I just think they're going to take this one in 7. Don't love it. Don't know if I know what I'm talking about on that one. But I'm going to go with Atlanta in 7. Probably the most intriguing matchup in the first round for both conferences. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. Rematch of the second round in the bubble last year. The Heat beat the Bucks in 5. They were the 1 seed last 2 seasons. And my episode 83 here on the Ringers podcast, I put the Milwaukee Bucks as the team with the most pressure in these playoffs. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, the 2-time reigning MVP. I'm going to take the Bucks in 7. And I don't love it. I really do not, because I think Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo pose a lot of problems for the Bucks. I absolutely do not love this. But I think Giannis with Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker, Chris Middleton, the way he's been playing, I think Giannis will rise to the occasion. Didn't sound too confident in his pre-series interview. He basically said, I don't know, it could be the same result as last time. That's not something you really want to hear from your 2-time MVP who played terrible in the bubble last year. But I just think the Bucks, having the home court advantage, having Drew Holiday, I think it'll be a big difference. And Miami lost Victor Oladipo for the year. But Jimmy Butler's the guy. You don't want to play with fire. And if those shooters like Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, if those guys get hot, the Bucks could see a problem again for Miami. So this is going to be a great series. Could go either way. I think the Bucks take care of them in 7. And then the last series, in the first round, got the 2 seed Brooklyn Nets, the juggernaut themselves, against the 7 seed Boston Celtics. I look at Boston, obviously no Jaylen Brown, but Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum he's a star. He's a star. He's a top 20 player in the league, in my opinion. I think he can maybe muster them a game. But I'm going to go ahead and say Nets in 4. I don't think the Celtics will get a game. Maybe they'll push hard in Game 3 or Game 4. But I think the Nets, just the juggernaut that they are with James Harden, Kyrie, and obviously Kevin Durant. And you got Joe Harris, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin. Just too many vets. Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. This Nets team, they're bad defensively. They are bad, and they're going to see problems in the Eastern Conference. Not this series. This is going to be a cakewalk. KD's going to get whatever he wants. James Harden's going to cook isolation ball to death, and I think the role players will hit shots. Nets in 4. So we got the Sixers and the Hawks in the second round, and I got the Sixers pulling another sweep. I got the Sixers in 4. So the Sixers are going to start 8-0 in this postseason and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just don't think Atlanta can take Philly in a game. I think it's a bad matchup. Philly's size is going to present a lot of issues for Atlanta. The Sixers to the Eastern Conference Finals, 8-0 to start the postseason. Then I got the Bucks and the Nets in the second round, and I got the Brooklyn Nets in 6 games over the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Milwaukee matches up well, and we saw Milwaukee take them out about a couple weeks ago, 2 games in a row to end the regular season, but they didn't have James Harden, so I can't really assess that that much. But if Giannis can rise to the occasion and play his ass off in this series, I think they can go 7 against Brooklyn. I just don't think the Bucks have enough firepower offensively to match Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn will be too much. So I got the Nets in 6. And then the Eastern Conference Finals. Philadelphia 76ers against the Brooklyn Nets. Going to be a great series, and they're going to pose problems for Brooklyn. I really think they will. I'm going to take the Nets in 7. I can't pick the Sixers to beat James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. Unless they fold and have a Clippers choke job like last year offensively, I don't see it. I really don't see it, and I expect the Nets to get to the NBA Finals out of the East, and it sets up the matchup we probably all want to see. Nets, Lakers. This is going to be a tough series, not going to lie. If the Lakers are banged up and they're not playing well, which they probably will be if they're going to make the finals, and that means they'll be healthy they'll be healthy if they make the finals, right? I look at this series, there's a lot of things that you have to look at. Star power, Kevin Durant, AD, LeBron, Harden, Kyrie, a lot of stars, Drummond, Griffin. There's a lot of big names, right? But this series is going to come down to one thing, defense. The Lakers, the best team in the NBA defensively by a mile. The Nets, one of the worst team, bottom 5 in defense, right? In the finals, you're not going to win a championship playing bad defense. I don't care how good your offense is. You're not. And you act like the Lakers can't score. Sure, the Nets can score. They're more prolific offensively, but the Lakers got size, and they can hit the perimeter shots. It's one thing to deal with LeBron and AD, but you also got to contain the shooters. Schroeder, right? KCP, Caruso, Kuzma, Drummond banging inside. There's Marcus Gasol can hit the perimeter shots. Montrezl Harrell. The Lakers present a lot of threats, right, from the perimeter. Wes Matthews. There's a bunch of shooters. Ben McLemore off the bench. I'm naming all the names, but these guys can hit shots, right? But the Nets have pieces too. Joe Harris, Jeff Green. They got guys that can shoot too. I'm not sleeping on the Nets. I'm going to take the Lakers in 7. I just think the Lakers will have to go on the road to Game 7 to Brooklyn. I think LeBron gets it done. I think he wins the championship. I think the Lakers repeat. LeBron gets his 5th. AD gets his 2nd. I think it'll be a heck of a series. I just think the Nets defense is going to be a problem, and the Lakers defense is going to be what benefits them. The Nets are going to put up points, for sure. They're going to put up points, right? I mean, that trio is one of the best of all time playing explosive-wise, right? Scoring points in bunches, right? They're going to get points against the Lakers, but the Lakers will have the best chance to beat them because of their defense. It's not because of LeBron and AD. That plays a huge role in it. Having 2 of the top 5 players in the world on your team helps beat that juggernaut. But the defense, Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd, they pride themselves on defense, and that's what's going to matter, and that's why the Lakers won the championship last year as well. Their defense, they got stops in the most opportune times. That's going to help benefit them against a team like Brooklyn. So I got the Lakers repeating, not even being biased. I just think the Lakers, if they're on and healthy, they're the best team in basketball. Defensively, and probably second to none against Brooklyn offensively. But should be a great playoffs. Could be dead wrong on some of these predictions. But that's my 2021 NBA playoff predictions in the East and West. Lakers over Nets in 7 in the NBA Finals. And if we could get that, talk about box office, right? LeBron in a Game 7 with AD against KD, Kyrie, and Harden. That's what we want to see. That's what it's all about. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck to your team in the NBA playoffs, and I will see you soon.